Good evening from London, and good evening from me, Dr. Dermot Hudson, the chairman of the British Group for the Study of the Juche idea, chairman of KFA UK, and of course the owner of this very self-same channel, Songam 007, which I think is probably the only genuinely pro DPRK YouTube channel in the UK, and of course it defends people's career with no ifs or buts. And tonight this is a special live stream in addition to the regular live streams that we hold to launch my latest book, Anti-Revisionist Fortress of Juche, People's Career and the Struggle Against Revisionism. I'm very pleased to say that it is actually finally come back from the printers. There it is. I will put a link to the book in the chat, so people can purchase it on lulu.com. It's priced as low as I could price it, and I will also probably produce an ebook of it as well. And I'm also very pleased to announce that within days of it being published in English on lulu.com, Brazilian comrades from the Brazilian Center for the Study of Sangam Politics and KFA Brazil actually translated it into Portuguese, into Brazilian Portuguese. So there's a Portuguese language edition of it. And I'm hoping that it will be translated into other languages in the coming months. I hope that people will step forward to volunteer to translate it into all sorts of other languages. Anyway, to me, the DPRK's struggle against revisionism is very important. In fact, as I've shown in the book, DPRK's got a very long record of opposing modern revisionism, but this is largely unknown by many Western leftists and communists. And when I first became interested in the DPRK in the 1980s, I read for the first time some of the works of President Kim Il-sung. And they actually taught me about revisionism. They taught me that the Soviet Union, which I had come to have a lot of doubts about, doing things like building Pepsi Cola factories on the sacred soil of a socialist country. The works of President Kim Il-sung actually showed that the USSR was indeed revisionist. So when it collapsed, I was not that surprised. I mean, obviously it was a very sad and heartrending loss, particularly for the Soviet people who ended up facing unemployment and poverty and hunger, but also disaster for the international communist movement. But to me, it was something that was not unexpected, because I'd studied the works of President Kim Il-sung and learnt about revisionism. In the 1990s, I gave a paper on the struggle of the Workers' Party of Korea against revisionism to an organisation called the National Committee for Marxist-Leninist Unity, and that paper, or parts of it, is still on the internet. So for quite a long time I'd thought about writing more about the DPRK struggle against modern revisionism. And in the last few years, a number of factors impelled me. I mean, first of all, British academic Dr. Joe Pateman actually produced a paper on the DPRK as an anti-revisionist bastion. And also on the internet, mostly I think on Twitter, some ultra-leftists have falsely accused the DPRK of revisionism, not knowing what the hell they are talking about. And I suspect some of these people, whilst bad-mouthing the DPRK and trying to attack it from an ultra-leftist standpoint, are actually guzzling down gallons of Coca-Cola and eating American pizzas and McDonald's. You know, these people are very superficial. So all these factors impelled me to write this book, both to defend the DPRK's anti-revisionist record and explain the DPRK's struggle against revisionism. So, it consists of 7 chapters, and it's about 66 pages. Now, some people might ask, some people may ask, what is revisionism? Well, I think basically, revisionism is a real toxin that has destroyed socialism in a lot of countries across the globe. When I grew up, socialism was a world system. There was an international socialist camp, as it were, as someone once said, stretching from East Berlin to Shanghai, or indeed from Havana to Pyongyang, or from Havana to Hanoi. But thanks to revisionism, which basically is about compromising and diluting principles, thanks to revisionism, that disappeared. But countries like the DPRK exist and remain and uphold the red flag of socialism, the red flag of anti-revisionism. And President Kim Il-sung himself, I think, succinctly and ably defined or described revisionism as follows. The sources of revisionism are acceptance of domestic bourgeois influence and surrender to external imperialist pressure. Both old revisionism and modern revisionism are one and the same in essence and aims. Both deny the basic principles of Marxism and call for a renunciation of the revolutionary struggle on the pretext that times have changed. End of quote. And I think that sums it up pretty well. In the book, I've detailed the anti-revisionist struggle of the Workers' Party of Korea and the DPRK right from the early days, really starting right back in the 1940s. But obviously, the DPRK's anti-revisionist campaign gathered pace in the 50s and 60s when modern revisionism appeared in a systematic form. And both President Kim Il-sung and Chairman Kim Jong-il strongly opposed modern revisionism and wrote many works against it, which are quoted in the book. Similarly, the DPRK media, such as Rudon Sinmun, which translated means daily worker, carried a lot of articles against modern revisionism. And the DPRK, even after Brezhnev had come to power in the USSR, and he tried. Brezhnev was a sort of leader who tried to cool down things. He tried to limit the damage caused by Khrushchev. He halted a lot of Khrushchev's reforms, but most importantly, did not reverse them, which he could have done. I mean, this is the thing about the Soviet Union. At any point in time, from the late 1950s to its collapse in 1991, a leadership could have taken decisive measures and reversed the counter-revolutionary reforms, but that didn't happen because of revisionism. So the Workers' Party of Korea, led by President Kim Il-sung and Chairman Kim Jong-il, continued to oppose revisionism. In the 1970s, Comrade Kim Jong-il put forward the slogan, "Let us live our own way," which is also very much an anti-revisionist slogan. It's about the DPRK living its own way and rejecting revisionist and imperialist influence. And the DPRK also strongly opposed the new wave of revisionism in the 1980s, the revisionism of Gorbachev, the so-called perestroika and glasnost. The DPRK's opposition to this was implacable, as a number of works of President Kim Il-sung and Chairman Kim Jong-il show. And in the 90s, when you had the raging winds of anti-socialism, the so-called end of history that had been caused and fanned by modern revisionism, the DPRK continued to take an anti-revisionist position, with Chairman Kim Jong-il issuing quite a few works against revisionism and attacking it quite a lot. In the present day, respected Comrade Kim Jong-un himself, in recent speeches to party workers and in an article in Ruden Simon, also has argued strongly against reformism and has argued for the maintenance and adherence of revolutionary principles. And in a work last year, he mentioned revisionism, which I think is very significant. So, the Workers' Party of Korea, right from the 1940s to the present day, has struggled against revisionism. And as I say, I've detailed it in this book. You can find a more fuller account of what I've said in the book. Anyway, I will stop talking there. This was not intended to be a very intense or long live stream. It was just really to launch the book. So I will take a few questions and comments, maybe for about 20 to 30 minutes, and sort of wrap up about 7:45 my time. I know there's probably viewers watching from other time zones. So please fire away with your questions, and if possible, keep the questions focused on the book, please. Okay, well, while I wait for some questions, as the chat can often be slow and lag actually very... All right. Your first question, classical guitar. Yes, revisionism is abandoning Marxism or watering it down, trying to take its revolutionary content out of it and turn it into into reformism. Yes, so yeah, you can say it is abandoning Marxism or basically diluting its revolutionary principles. Okay, so while I wait for questions, just would announce a couple of things. Firstly, we've got another online event. We've got film night on the Monday, 28th of April. We're showing the popular DPRK film, Urban Girl Comes to Get Married, and you can register for the event at our different email addresses. We are going to switch to Telegram as a platform for online KFA events in May, because Skype is closing down, so we're switching to Telegram. So future online events will be on Telegram. And just to answer the question from Andrew Monton, I hope I've said that second name right. Will an ebook be available? That is something I'm considering doing. I may bash out an ebook in the next few days. Going to be busy over the next few days as spring cleaning and builders in the house. I hope to create an ebook of it, and so that will be available and that will be cheap. Yes, it is a very good film. Just responding to the comments from our friend Classical Guitar, it's a very nice film. It's a good film. That's why we've chosen it. We'd be showing it Monday night for anyone who's interested. The other thing I should announce, May the 10th, Red Book Fairs have got the Merseyside Marxist Book Fair in the Casa, which is in Hope Street in Liverpool. And it's a very nice sort of working class pub with links to the labour movement, with, I believe, the Liverpool Dock Workers strike. And KFA is going to be there. I'm going to be travelling up there. So we will have a stall, and, I'll have a few copies of this book. And if people want, I can sign them for them as well. Right. Question about the film night. It's online. It's online. Say it's on Skype, but it's the last event we're going to hold on Skype. If you want to register for it, if you're not already registered for KFA UK events, email uk@korea.dpr.com or my email, juche007@gmail, and we send you the registration form, get you registered. I mean, we find online events are quite good because, it means that people who cannot necessarily travel to London or to other centres where we've held meetings can participate, and also international guests can drop in on these events as well. Stan, darn, I am late. Maybe sign some to be available online. Yeah, I've put a link up in the chat to the online where you can buy the book if you want. But you know, I think it's a good suggestion to do an ebook. So I will bang out an ebook in the hopefully next 5 days. So hopefully it should be on lulu.com as an ebook by next Monday. If I travel to leaving, I'm not Londoning. Don't understand. Never mind. I mean, also in terms of future events, we will hold another reading session on the book Understanding Korea, Volume 9, Human Rights. That will be in May, and it will be on Telegram, and we're aiming to hold a meeting in Scotland, north of the border, in June. And of course, June itself will be the month for solidarity with the Korean people from June 25th to July 27th. This month, the June 25th, of course, marks the anniversary of the provocation of the Fatherland Liberation War by the US imperialist aggressors. In July 27th is the date the US signed the armistice. So that is designated as Month for Solidarity. So we try and organise a few events around that. In August, there's going to be a big international online seminar for the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation. Will you do another stream on the book when we've had a chance to read it? Yeah, I mean, that's an idea. You know, I'm open to it. You know, I can do another stream on it, or it can be incorporated into one of the regular live streams. Well, thank you for explaining the joke, Stan. And also, I mean, in October, there will be a big international seminar on the anniversary of the Workers' Party of Korea, which KFA is organising. Now here I see classical guitar, the old RCP, run by Frank Ferrudi and others, economics professor, used to talk a lot about revisionism, but I was too young to understand it. Well, the subject of the old RCP is a bit of a can of worms. You know, I was never in that party. I knew someone who was tempted to join it, but in the end didn't join it. They used to hold events in London, like a weekend event in London called Preparing for Power. And they used to have a paper called The Next Step and a glossy magazine called Living Marxism. and they were really Trotskyite. I'm surprised they talked about revisionism. I assume they were accusing other Trotskyite parties of being revisionist. That's what I assume. I mean, they were a very funny crowd, and of course, as I think one or two viewers here will know, they ended up becoming very right wing. Some of the people that were in the RCP are associated with Spite Online, which sort of comes out with anti-immigration stuff and I think other right-wing positions, and I think one of them has even got into the House of Lords or something. And there used to be a lot of stories about the RCP getting involved in different criminal activities to fund their party. But yeah, they're not. They weren't a very good bunch, basically, and they've not ended up well either. I mean, it might be interesting if people could suggest ideas for other books. I mean, possibly I'm toying with the idea later in the year to write a book about the various plots against the Korean Friendship Association. There's some school on thought that it's not good to draw attention to it, but I think it's good to expose dirty tricks against KFA. That's one idea. That's one book I'm planning to write next, and I've got one or two other ideas. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the RCP, as I remember, used to have the Irish Freedom Movement. One of several. There were several groups campaigning for, for solidarity with Ireland, like Troops Out movements, like the Wolf Tone Society, and say, I mean, yeah, and to be fair to the RCP, they took the fairly decent line on Yugoslavia when some Trotskyites were calling for all workers' aid to Bosnia, and actually supporting all sorts of reactionaries. Okay, let's look at the chat, see what else. Is the UK a democracy? Well, no, it's not. I assume that you mean that as a subject for a book to write. That would be quite a useful book to write. No, the UK is not. UK Reform got 3 million votes and won 5 seats. WPB got 4 million and won 0 seats. Yeah, I mean, also the fact is that a minority of the electorate have actually voted for the ruling party. It's actually a very low percentage, and it means that about 70% of the electorate has not actually voted for the government. And also, I don't know how many people there are who are not registered to vote, who should be registered to vote, but for one reason or another are not on the electoral list, particularly the homeless, for example. who are disenfranchised, or people who've got so fed up with all the nonsense that we hear, and politicians breaking their promises, that they do not register to vote. And of course, in the US, there was a big issue around some states actually stopping black people from registering to vote and excluding black people from voting. The UK is a capitalist imperialist state like the US. Dr. Hudson, did President Kim Il-sung, Chairman Kim Jong-il speak on the topic of market reforms of either the Yugoslav or Chinese types? Well, publicly, they didn't specifically mention those countries by names, but they wrote a number of works actually opposing market reforms. And Chairman Kim Jong-il made it very clear in several works in the 1990s that a socialist economy is a planned economy, not a market economy, that it is an independent economy, not a dependent economy. And, you know, I refer to it in the book, and if I can find it, so it should. Yes, I mean, one quote I have by President Kim Il-sung from 1989 was he said, and I quote, "Careless opening may allow mosquitoes and blowflies to fly in and cause damage. We must conduct exchanges and joint ventures with other countries, but we must pitch mosquito nets to prevent those insects from infiltrating," end of quotation. And you know, I think that was quite a direct response to the idea of opening the door. And you know, some people might want to dispute this, but also I was told verbally, I've never seen in writing, but a delegation of the New Communist Party visited the DPRK in 1990, and they were slagged off by some on the left for actually opening relations with the Workers' Party of Korea. But I was told by someone on that delegation that President Kim Il-sung actually did say, oh, China, they opened the door, but they forgot to put up the mosquito net. So, you know, I hope that answers your question. Let's go down. I think people are chatting with one another in the chat. I suppose it's called the chat. The Gregor McIntosh, the FD, first past the post system is utter rubbish. I agree, but bourgeois democracy is utter rubbish, whichever electoral system it has. I mean, I think all of them have got flaws. I mean, we've got first past the post. The US have got the funny electoral college system, which I think is surely very much open to manipulation and fraud. You know, and I mean, the only things I think about sort of alternative vote, AV, alternative voting, or proportional representation, is that in some countries that have it, communist and left-wing and anti-capitalist parties have been able to get into get elected, which, you know, again is a double-edged sword, because it gives them a toehold in national politics, but at the same time they get absorbed into the system. Well, thank you, George, for your congratulations. No, it's not previously published book, but I mean that I have used that quotation, I think, in another book and in quite a few different articles and in different social media sort of work. Yeah, I think it's a very important quote. Yeah, I mean, Canada and Denmark have got on the wrong side. In fact, well, they haven't got on the wrong side. They haven't done actually anything to antagonise the USA, but Donald Trump has sort of become very hostile to them, and he's agitating, for against these countries, which is very, very toxic and poisonous. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the electoral college system could be used to steal elections. So there's no other ideas for books that people want me to write, or ideas or some. Right. Good to have you on the live stream, Spruce Cobra. Do you think Trump will treat the DPRK the same way he did Cuba? It's an interesting question, and you got to look at the history of it. Funny enough, Obama was, as it were, soft on Cuba, because I think he saw it as an easy touch, and he actually lifted some of the US sanctions against Cuba and actually established diplomatic relations with Cuba. And then Trump came along and reimposed the sanctions. I think the US embassy got closed down, and then Sleepy Joe came, and at the end of his reign, he suddenly took Cuba off the state sponsors of terrorism list, which is really just another form of US sanctions. It's a fancy name for it. But as soon as Trump got in, he actually revoked that. And he's taken a very anti-Cuba line. With the DPRK, it's a bit different because they were never taken off the state sponsors of terrorism list. There's never been a US embassy in Pyongyang. And there's always been US sanctions against the DPRK, which were being imposed under both Obama, Trump Biden and now Trump again. But yeah, if so really there isn't much Trump can sort of do, but it's very clear that the US is very hostile to the DPRK. They're making all sorts of new allegations about biological weapons. There's been a lengthy State Department report accusing the DPRK of not only having nuclear weapons but biological weapons as well. So I think from what the signs I'm reading, that the hostility towards the DPRK will increase under Trump, and it's unlikely to be any talks. Yeah, it would be good if you wrote more about the economic system of DPRK. Well, I think I've covered it in earlier books like In Defense of Juche, Career and Career of Juche, but I suppose I could write something specifically on the economic system of the DPRK. Well, let's take the questions one by one. Trump is quite a maverick figure. He's unpredictable. And he was the first US president to directly to enter into direct negotiations with the DPRK. That made him look very, very different. He held 2 summits, and but I think it was a big publicity stunt, actually stepped into the DPRK. But in my opinion, what he was doing was simply carrying out US policies against the DPRK, but in a totally new way. He believes that he can impose the will of the US on others simply by meeting different leaders and laying it down on the line to them. And he thinks that he's got great personal negotiating skills, and he can make others see things the US way, and basically make people believe that black is white and white is black. But at the end of the day, what he was really aiming at was the DPRK's unilateral disarmament of not only its nukes but its missiles as well, and so opening up to the capitalist system. I think maybe he thought he could have Trump hotels in Pyongyang and Wonsan, or he could even buy the Ruyong hotel or something, like some crazy idea like that. So it was basically old policies, but in a totally new format that looked very, very new, very exciting. But it was really the ideas that underlined it were basically the same. Of course, I think he earned hatred from parts of the US ruling class who believed that at all costs, no kind of recognition, however fleeting or superficial, should be given to the DPRK. These people would rather die than give the DPRK any kind of recognition. But Trump has come from real estate, and he took a different approach. But yeah, at the end of the day, the policy is the same. Yeah, answering your question, George. Yeah, the book does go into the history of anti-revisionism in the DPRK. I start in the 1950s, look in detail, particularly at the early 60s, and then go right up to the present day. Well, I mean, if you're speaking about the state sponsors of terrorism list that I think began in the 80s or even 70s, I think that was the pretext used, but they cited other things and in fact give very vague reasons for including the DPRK on it. The reasons aren't very specific. They're just we think North Korea supports terrorism in X country. I think they've mentioned things like Hamas, etc. Yeah, I agree. Yes, the Russian Federation found biological weapons labs run by the US in Ukraine. Yes, well, as we know, hypocrisy has always been a big feature of the US. Of the US, Biden can go back to bed with that horrors of socialism garbage that he pimped off. Well, imagine Joe Biden. He's probably in bed. He's probably asleep somewhere, just like a Mickey D's in DPRK. Trump hotels in the DPRK would be a tragedy. Lousy pom pom boy and Bolton were pushing the Libya model. Yeah, totally perceptive comment. You're absolutely right. That's what happened. Mike Pompeo and Bolton, who bears a curious resemblance to the American cartoon character Yosemite Sam. They did want to impose the Libyan model on the DPRK, which would be total nuclear disarmament. In fact, what happens with Libya was their nuclear program was very much in its early stages, in its infancy. It wasn't advanced like the DPRK's was. I mean, I think Libya was years and years away from a nuclear test, but they scrapped it, and not only scrapped it, but they actually sent the materials to the US. I mean, it was an abject act of surrender and compromise by Colonel Gaddafi, a leader whom I, in the past, had some admiration for because of his anti-imperialist independent stand and his wonderful form of Libyan Arab socialism. It was great, but he went off the rails in I think really in the 90s and was trying to curry favour with the imperialists and get better relations with them, and did it on the basis of not by trying to hold to an independent position by total capitulation and compromise. Unbelievably awful. The horrors of socialism was a resolution that the Biden administration passed. Now, it's good you bring that up because a lot of people forget that about Biden. He was just as anti-communist as Trump. And yeah, I mean the U.S. Congress with both parties, Democrat and Republicans. I wonder how old Bernie Sanders voted. That's interesting. But they actually passed a resolution against socialism, which was pretty horrendous and all full of McCarthyism and sort of ultra neoliberalism. Is that very, very bad? I mean, I assume that if there was a similar thing, both Labour and Tories here would support it. In fact, Sadiq Khan, who I dislike intensely as a Londoner because he's messing up London. I think he adopted some kind of anti-communist resolution. Right. This is a similar problem to Iran after Iraq and Libya. Why should Iran yield? Does the DPRK support Iran despite political differences? Well, yes, they do support Iran, and I don't see too much mention about Iran these days in DPRK media, but in the past, very good relations. I wish someone would write the Black Book of Capitalism. Well, yes, that's a good project for someone to do. I believe on Twitter there is a joke site for the victims of communism, Memorial Foundation. There's a spoof site of it, and of course Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini are included as victims of communism. Hello, wasn't Truman a Democrat? Yes, he was. The USA still calls Libya a rogue country, so they're not only reneged, they still lie about it. True. Biden also calls May Day, sneers Loyalty Day. Yeah, well, we in UK we have May Day, but they try to depoliticize it, and we don't actually get the actual holiday on May the 1st. It's always the first Monday after May Day. I nominate George to write the Black Book of Capitalism. Well, I think that's up to George. I think it would need a whole team of writers and would take years and years to list all the crimes of capitalism. Well, this seems to be a very lively and well-humoured live stream. It's good to also meet new people on this. Classical guitar, what is the DPRK outlook on the Ukraine conflict? I see it as clearly an attempt to crush Russia as they tried in World War II. Yeah, I mean, that's how the DPRK sees it. DPRK sees Ukraine as a puppet state, as a Nazi regime, and has given and has, made statements in support of the special military operation launched by the Russian Federation. They also recognized the two Donbass republics as well. So I mean, the DPRK does see Ukraine as a total puppet state. Okay, well, I've actually managed to go longer than I'd planned. I didn't speak as long as I have done in other live streams, but we've, things livened up, so we've got a few questions. I will just take one more question, and then I will have call it a day. And I am going to work on getting an ebook out as soon as possible. maybe even get an ebook by tomorrow for it. But anyway, I will take one more question and then sort of close it down. Yeah, so I had intended to only go till 7:45, but I will sort of stay here for another few minutes. See if there's any more questions. Well, if there's no more questions, so I just remind people it's film night on the 28th. It's gonna, as I said before, it's going to be the last ever KFA UK event on Skype. We will switch to Telegram in May. We will try to do something for the month of solidarity from June to July. I'm going to be at the Merseyside Marxist Book Fair in Liverpool on the 10th of May. So I don't know if there's any Merseysiders watching this, but please make a beeline to the Casa in Hope Street, Liverpool on the 10th of May, where I will where I will be, and we will have big international online events in August and October. So please keep checking social media. We will announce that nearer the time. Yeah, I mean, Russia's actions were basically defensive, but the Western mainstream media totally distorted everything, carried out a lying campaign. I always say in war, truth is the first casualty. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I would like. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we'll take one last question from George. Yeah, the book will be available in hard copy. In fact, it is available in hard copy. I've got a copy back from the printer, and it's not only going to be, and I'm also going to, produce an ebook, maybe even tomorrow if I get my skates on. So, you'll be able to get it in both hard copy and as an ebook. Anyway, I think it's been a wonderful live stream. It's been really enjoyable. I think it's been quite fairly lively and good-natured, good questions. So thank you for joining me. And I'll be back with one of the regular live streams probably sometime in May. And keep checking our social media for news and details of future events. So I wish everybody a very good evening, and take care of yourselves. Goodbye.